Hey guys, and welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast with me, Alex Whiteley. And today I've got a really, really good episode for you. This is one of the best podcasts I think I've recorded in a long time. And this isn't to slam anybody I've interviewed before. No, not at all. I am just really encouraged by the content in this episode. I'm speaking to Freya Rickman from Cooper Green Pooks about content that's being created about that features history in the town. Not just that, but there's like a real passion behind it. There's like a movement happening on social media at the moment. There's Killarney Ghost Hunter. There's an American guy visiting the UK towns, visiting pubs. There's also a young guy, I forgot his name. He's going around like places like York and London and exploring history and telling us little factoids about a little place. There's lots of young people now getting involved with interesting history facts in their hometowns and things. And that for me is really, really encouraging. Before we get into it, I want to say thank you to Roberto from Old Market Hall for being so accommodating. What a great place to record, right? I mean, if you've walked past that building and never had a look inside, it's just as fascinating, I'd say, on the inside as it is on the out. You know, because you've got the fully working clock parts in the corner of the building that you can look at, the amazing beams, the amazing stained glass window is great to look out on, and they do great coffee too. There's also a cinema there, you know, if you want to go and watch an intimate viewing of a movie, so you don't have to, you know, wade through a massive Odeon or Cineworld complex. That's there too. So it's a really cool place. I recorded a really cool podcast, and I'm really happy about it. At the end of this episode, I'm going to talk to you guys a bit about things that are coming up, episodes that we're releasing and events we're going to be going to, featuring talk about Shrewsbury Food Festival, of course, and we're going to be there. I'm always there. It's one of my favourite events. But for now, I'm going to leave you with this amazing episode featuring Freya Rickman from Cooper Green Pooks. Enjoy, guys. Hey guys, welcome to the Old Market Hall in Shrewsbury. A bit of a disclaimer before we go into this, right? I can't really touch much of this audio after in the post edit because there's aircon in the background. Now, if I bring my voice up in the background, what the software I use will do, bring up the aircon up as well. Then I'll have to just get rid of loud aircon. So also there's music in the background. I don't own the rights to that, but thank you to Roberto for being so accommodating today. We've got power, we've got a nice place, and I got a great guest, Freya from Cooper Green Pooks. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I brought you on the show because I think what you're doing, I don't think you realise how important what you're doing is, because you're concentrating a lot on making social media content about history and architecture in this town. I've been doing this for many years now. Maybe I sound really old, but it's very rare we come across young people that are enthusiastic about history in the town. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start a bit about you. I mean, I've just been in the queue in the coffee shop, and I've heard people go, "I know your parents are." Take it you're Shrewsbury born and bred. You from here?
Yeah, I was born in Shrewsbury. I've always lived here. I've never lived anywhere else. It's all I've known.
I see. I'm from out. I'm not. No. Do you know what? I was born in Shrewsbury, so I can kind of say I'm a Salopian, but it's Telford, Wrexham, Telford, Shrewsbury. But once we've settled here, it is. I'm not going to say it's a utopia because it's really not, but it is a great place to raise a family, I think. Anything.
Yeah,
no different.
I know no different, but I do like to get out and about, see what's around, and sometimes I feel like I'm looking for Shrewsbury that's not Shrewsbury, like Shrewsbury somewhere else with that feel, and you just don't find that kind of authenticity anywhere else, I don't think.
I've interviewed so many people that have gone away to London, Manchester, around the world, and then just come back here.
They say that everybody comes back.
Yeah, it's like a yo-yo. It's got a draw. It's the Shire. It's what brings us back. And so take us a bit about your education, what you've been trained to do, what you do, social media. I mean, what do you do? Tell me.
I've always been someone who just does a little bit of everything. I kind of fell into social media marketing. I worked at a bakery, and my boss went, "You're the teenager. You do social media," and I was like, "Yeah." So that was really exciting. And then I actually had a pep talk from one of the drivers at the bakery. He was like, this is like a whole career. This is an opportunity. And he's like, you're good at this. Like, go do something with it. So then I went and looked for an apprenticeship. I did an apprenticeship in agency because I wanted to be able to do a little bit of everything. I never wanted to think, oh gosh, that's really boring.
Pigeonhole you into one particular thing. You kind of go to loads of different things, yeah.
Yeah. And then
it's mad how young people kind of get nominated to do these things. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm young. I'm not 40 yet. I'm in my 30s still, so that's fine. But yeah, with social media things, I do tend to get the whole, oh, you're good with this, you're good with cameras, you're good with the phones. I am, but I choose to be. It is kind of like the norm now for young people and I suppose the younger millennials as well to just be naturally good with technology. It's quite cool.
Yeah, that's the thing though. I think that if I had a problem with like an iPad or something, I could give it to my 5-year-old cousin and he'd just like tap, be done. And so like it's getting to the point now where I'm wondering if I'm falling behind with tech because I'm getting older. So I think each younger generation is going to surpass our tech literacy. There
is that. We were just talking about editing software. We're actually quite geeking out about it. It's quite. I never thought I'd be able to geek out about microphones and mixers and DAWs and editing software, but here we are. But yeah, there are so many things that change. I mean, like we're living in a I call it a TikTok era. I don't know if that makes me sound old, but we are in that kind of thing where everything is content. Before you came here, I'm recording tables and stained glass window. I'm like, I'm going to make a good video out of this. It's just insane. Like back in the day, you'd have to like get the video camera out, you'd have to get a blank tape. It's just so readily available, isn't it?
Yeah, it is these days, especially about that quick format. So everything's very reactive. Everything's supposed to be very real. You know, if you're recording content for something you want to do in weeks to come, it's almost like the stuff you put less time and effort into and you edit less, I find does better because people like that kind of quick reactive
They relate
stuff.
to it, and we got that in common with my content, with the podcast, that it's got to be real. I love, like, I've got a studio across the way. Stuart Wooding's is amazing. Shropshire Business Suite, they let us use our studio all the time. I love that to bits. And we could have had that quintessential podcast sound. But I really wanted to get into, I love listening to the ambience of a coffee shop in the back of a podcast. I'm inviting the listener to sit at our table, do you know what I mean? And if I mess up with my notes or whatever, I keep them in because we all do silly things now and again. But also when it comes to like videos and content, I feel like we're getting fed up of seeing the polished, the Instagram kind of everything is perfect thing. It's got to be real, right?
Yeah, especially with the conversation side of it. I do know on some platforms it's like you're very aware that you've all that it takes is that one like lag, and then you've lost people's attention span because you just scroll on to the next thing. It's not making
seconds,
you
right?
wait.
We got 15 seconds to grab people's attention, yeah.
And then that first 3 seconds is crucial. So, that's the other thing. It was quite nice to not do the whole, hey guys, welcome to my channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. Because people are gone these days. They don't stick around for that. So, yeah.
I've been around that long. I've seen all that. I've done all that. Like, being part of podcast groups where I'm going, oh, guys, I've got a podcast I've got out this week. Here goes the link. Hope if you like it, you like it. And then you get like 5 or 6 other podcast links in the comments. It's greedy, hungry out there, for content. But if it's like something that's natural, like what you're making, people gravitate towards that. I mean, when it comes to making something that people will gravitate towards, is this something that you learned about in your courses and your apprenticeship, or is it something that you just comes across you naturally? Do you know what I mean?
It was a bit of both, actually. So I was really, really keen to do like the video editing training and stuff when I was doing my marketing apprenticeship. But my kind of original interest in that side came from the fact that I was in fact a nerd when I was 12. And I used to sit at home and make vines for TV shows I watched and stuff. And that actually gave me like the foundation so that when I started my apprenticeship, and it was like, actually, I did all this when I was 12. I'm sure I can wing it. And that base knowledge was like very much relevant and really did give me like a bit of a push. And then, when I was doing my apprenticeship, I was the person who did all the videos because it was like, oh, Freya could do that. That's just what Freya does. And I was like, oh, that's great. I love doing this.
It's what I would say is it's like it's almost like breathing. It's like it's it's natural to be able to do something like that. I mean, I love making a good reel or TikTok, whatever it is, whatever you use. I mean, Instagram just edits. They've just released a new app where you can just make videos.
Yeah.
You don't have to like post them and stuff, which is great because I was always like making them and then downloading them or what have you. But for me, sitting there doing that, like time goes way so quick. Like I'm just sitting there like editing and an hour can go in 5 minutes, can't it?
Yeah, that's the other thing. I quite like the intimacy of like sitting down and breaking apart a video and turning it into something you really like. But also, sometimes it's so nice to just like whack some clips in one of those templates. You don't even have to do the timings on Instagram anymore; it does it for you. And it's taking you literally 2 minutes to put these clips in, and it turns into this really satisfying, and it's trendy, and everyone else is doing it, and it looks beautiful. And annoyingly, that's always the thing that performs better than the thing you've just put 2 hours into, because that's
crazy,
how it goes.
I used to sit there and think, oh my god, like. Again, part of podcast circles, I'd see people do stuff with their phones when I've got like walking around with £2,000 worth of equipment and stuff, and then they bam, thousands of. I'm like, it's again, but it's going back to what's natural, what feels good. What would you like? What scenario could you put yourself in and think, I feel home here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when it comes to real estate, I think things have absolutely changed for the better for them. I remember when I was a kid, like. You'd look through the newspaper and you see like all the pictures of houses, and that's pretty much what you'd have, and they have the things on the window, and like now we've got the access to the whole internet where you can take things and show things people that they wouldn't be able to normally see back in the day.
Yeah, I think the window cards are only a thing these days for tradition, and it's always tourists having been like, could we live here? What's available? Yeah. It's never actually local.
We were looking in Paris. We were in Paris. We were like, oh my God, how much are the houses around here? Like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I went to France and I was like, oh, how do they display their window cards here? But obviously that's also me just not switching off my brain.
So when you came to Cooper Green Pooks, what was the mission to start off with? I mean, obviously, did they have a social media presence already, or were you there to freshen it up? And what was the deal there?
So I started at the same time as my colleague Leanne from Outward Marketing, and she is focused more on kind of the website side of things. But we both took this on together, and it was like, oh my gosh, like no one's really done this before. There have been times previously when someone's like done a post on the Facebook, but they've never had like a content strategy, like someone focused on their marketing and that alone. So it was quite nice starting from scratch and being like, well. I've always, especially being an agency, worked with things that there's already a direction. Maybe they want someone to take over, or someone in house, or I've got like someone telling me, we've already talked about this with the client. This is what we're doing, and I actually think it took me a couple of weeks of feeling a bit like, I'm kind of waiting for someone to tell me what they want from me, what they want me to do, and then it was like. Oh, I'm the expert. I get to decide now. I get to choose. So, yeah, and then it was just...
Because I guess at that point you've got a blank canvas. Like,
yeah.
What do we make? And that's not like... That sounds like a great thing, but sometimes it's quite difficult to come up with original ideas. You see all those cliche clips of people sat around in TV writing rooms. Wow, we need an idea, guys. That's kind of...
Yeah. So it's what you imagine. It's just me sat at my desk going, But no, it was amazing. And once I realised, I was like, actually, I've got like pretty much, there's approval processes, but I've got creative freedom here. Like,
yeah.
And there was obviously like the planning process and that we had focus points, but also it's kind of, this is what we want to talk about. How do you want to do it? And it was like, oh, great. Well, I'm just going to try a little bit of everything. And then that's the other thing. I don't feel like you can plan too far ahead with social media because things change. Things that worked last week are not going to work 3 weeks from now. It's just how it works.
FYP for your post. The hashtag trends and things. You're right, yeah. It's so, and it can be quite visceral as well. I mean, like with some trends, you can be like, oh, that's so like last week, like that's so like 6 months ago. We're still posting about that, but it moves so quickly. And with a real estate agent, so I imagine that to be focused on just selling houses would be like people like, ugh.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. Realistically, these days, people are going on the internet and they're using Rightmove and stuff to find properties they want to see. So it was a bit like, actually, what's our focus going to be here? Because people will find the properties because they're using the same websites, but it's like, how do we push them to our services? as a whole. And then it was like, well, actually reflecting on like brand awareness, everybody in Shrewsbury knows Cooper Green Pooks. It's 140 years of history this year. And you know, when I said, "Oh, I'm starting this new job at Cooper Green Pooks," I've just started at Cooper Green Pooks, everyone went, "Oh yeah, I know Pooks," and everybody knows the people that work there, and everyone that works there has also like been there forever. So that was like really reassuring. But it was also thinking, well, you know, if everybody already knows about us, what do we want them to know about?
How can we put a fresh lick of paint on this thing?
Yeah, no, exactly.
What can we? Yeah.
And the people I work with, because they've been there for so long, they are genuinely really invested. And it was like, well, you know, I know, like I can sit here and I can tell you, you know, they do care about what they do. And it was like, but how do we show that? And it's, and, you know, and what is it that they do? And it's all about Shrewsbury. It all revolves around Shrewsbury. And,
you know, I've had many conversations about different aspects about architecture and, you know, buildings. And we just did a great podcast with SY Homes, who've just got the amazing Old Coleham Court. Massive building, but beautiful inside. Really, really nice. Controversy, though. People don't like new things in Shrewsbury. It scares them. I was stood there watching them bring down the riverside. You know, I think everybody stopped there every now and again, watched them smash things up. It was quite cool. And there's this old guy going, "Oh, it's terrible." He's actually going, "It's terrible." I was like, "No, this is exciting. What are you on about?"
Yeah, and people are going, "Oh, building more new houses." You know, I work for property agents. We need more houses. We need more. There is so much demand and not enough supply, and it will make it, you know, more accessible for people to live here. And you know, I think there is almost like, to be honest, maybe a little bit of an element of gatekeeping. So I don't want to share this lovely town, but I love sharing this kind of thing with everybody. Like, and not just because I work in property. I just think it's, you know, you find something you love, and why don't you want everyone to experience that?
Yeah, it's the gorilla. It's my natural habitat. Get out of my forest. That's what it is, literally. I think that's kind of naturally built into us to want to protect the area that we live in and what we're used to. I mean, I was in Telford the other day, speaking to SYST. Big shout out to those guys doing great stuff, and it's so exciting seeing all the new buildings coming up across the road from, you know, if you know Telford, where, you know, the old Asda was across by the railway station. It's all these amazing buildings coming up, and I'm like, oh my god, like I remember this when I was a kid, and it's all looking amazing. I mean, I'm not saying I want them to come and bulldoze all these amazing historical buildings in Shrewsbury. It's never going to happen, guys, right? We love the history in this town, but...
We're protected now, it's safe.
Yes. But the Riverside is such an interesting idea. They could do anything there. Like, I always say, like, you know, I'm used to going to my wife to Bogota, where they build up. They all go up. Like, go up. Like, it's such a cool idea to build something. I always say that, you know, Asda, or right up to Nando's. I think that plot of land is so underutilized. It's almost criminal that they've got all this space and they haven't built. I'm not saying build Star City in Shrewsbury, but I'm saying you could build some cool little complex there with everything in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of car park going on there now you mention it. And as you say, there's no building up, considering that's so close to town and so walkable.
Yeah. I mean, people will be like, I can't see the Lord Hills column anymore.
You never looked before.
Yeah. And you know what? Walking around with the likes of Stan Sedman, Nigel Baker, Bibbs Cameron, Maggie Love, all these amazing history advocates in this town, they always say, look up in your town, walk around. There's so many people that walk around here with their head glued to the floor. I've just walked down Pride Hill now. I nearly took a picture of them, and I was like, I've got to show Freya this. They would look up Boots. They were looking all the way up the beautiful building there, and I was like, "This is perfect. Like, this is a great thing to talk about." That there's this couple here looking at the architecture, enjoying what they see. You know,
I am very lucky to have grown up in Shrewsbury, but I don't think it was until that I worked in property that I fully appreciated Shrewsbury for the town it was, and that's kind of where the history element of it comes from. I was, you know, just started getting to grips with property because I was looking from a background in marketing, not in property. And I was asking for like kind of old stories, and I was like, well, you know, 140 years of history and people that have been here forever, someone's got to have something to give me, like something to tell, something to show, photos, stories, tales, anything. I was like, you know, because that's what Shrewsbury's about, that's what it brings. And then one of my colleagues, Dan, brings me a stack of old photographs, and some of them like date back to like the 1960s. That's the other thing, being a property agent. As soon as cameras became a thing, everyone's like, well, I'll take a photo of the building I'm selling. So I honestly think the estate agents across like the country must have some of the oldest photographs and the biggest collections of those old photographs.
Exactly, yeah.
Because that was like one of the first times that cameras were like really used in business. So there's got to be like a treasure trove of opportunities out there.
I'm potentially working on something fun and exciting called, I nearly said the name of it then. It's not even been agreed upon, sorry lads. There's me and a group of guys, blokes. I'm calling it the fumbling at the bra of history. And we're just going to be like talking about what things are and where they come from and who made it, and like we talk about like, you know, the clicky pen. Who invented the clicky pen? Where does it come from? But obviously you start in Shropshire. Like I think we're going to start off with the flax mill. Let's talk about the flax mill. What does this thing make? What's the history of the place? What's moved on since then? What is it? It's the first skyscraper in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like that's how amazing Shropshire is. It's really exciting to talk about. That's something I'm working on in the background. Maybe I don't know. But yeah,
I grew up next to the flax mill, and it was really crazy to then watch it actually be finished, because my whole life it was just a building, so I never saw it before the building work started. It was always constructed.
Derelict whole building.
Yeah. So I never really saw before they started doing anything to it. So it's really nice to finally see it done. Do
you think they do enough about history? I know, like there is a lot of history in this town. I know we talk about, but do you think like they do enough to celebrate history in this town?
Well, I'm wondering if more goes on than I think, and I'm just not aware. So maybe it's happening and I just don't know. But I feel like, you know, it was only when I started working at Pooks, I was speaking to like the local businesses and stuff, that someone said, oh yeah, when I moved here I did one of the history walking tours, and I was like, did what? Where? Who? I didn't know there was a thing. And this woman who had lived in Shrewsbury for like 4 years was telling me all about the history of some of the buildings on the back of like Wild Cop, and I was like, God, I've lived here for 22 years and I had no idea.
A few years ago I got commissioned to produce some audio tours for Original Shrewsbury. It was really cool. And they had these this is where I met up with Bibbs Cameron and Nigel Baker, and we did the Unitarian Church, we did Wild Cop, we did the Castle. Nigel Baker is an amazing guy because he's very good when he talks his history. He's very, very good. And then I remember we met up on the one day to go to the castle. We started recording from the train station, walk all the way up Castle Street to the gate to the castle, and we didn't know that the castle was shut. And he walked up to me and went, he swore. He's like, oh my God, I completely forgot. I was like, it's okay. Got a studio around the corner. Let's go and record a podcast. We'll come back tomorrow, you know. And it's then when I started to realise that there's lots going on. But you got like the Sabrina boat now. They are now running the tour guides, so you can go book a tour and you can go for a walk around. It's really cool.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that more stuff like that seems to be popping up. I'm not sure if like some of this is kind of newer, or if I was just like very, very ignorant to all of this going on. But it's so nice to see.
But you don't know this is. I think the whole looking up is an actual metaphor. I mean, obviously look up, but it's like it's a metaphor for what is actually going on in this warm lake that you were born in, and you're not really noticing. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't really notice about it because you're not really looking. You just kind of like, this is where I went to school. This is where I go to work. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's only when you really focus. I mean, I was just talking with Roberto now about the significance of Shropshire as a whole. You've got Charles Darwin, you've got Thomas Telford, which we'll come on to later. I will talk about him in a minute. You've also got, you've got the Industrial Revolution. You've got so much going on in Shropshire, but we're just used to it because it's there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, the look up metaphor, as you say, it really is everything, and that's it summarised. You can say, research, look into, talk about, listen, but look up just summarises everything.
Find the passion to want to do those things first.
Yes.
And that's by like looking at this market hall. I mean, I've been in here a handful of times, but it is one of my favourite places to come to interview. One of the only reasons I don't come here so much is because it's a very busy coffee shop. Usually it's quite quiet today because it's warm, and I don't like to take up a table from businesses. Do you know what I mean? Like, so if it's very busy, I won't always go there. There's with social media, there's a couple of people at the moment doing some great things. Now I've forgotten the guy's name. He's an American guy with a beard, and he's going around the UK towns. He's trying out pubs. He was just in Wrexham not long ago. It's Killarney Ghost Hunter. That's sounds. I'll put the link for it on my blurb. And he's just going around and sampling British food, looking at British culture, and this is getting people talking about. It's getting excited about history. There's a guy who likes to do talks around York and London and stuff. And then I see your videos. I'm like, oh my God, this is a trend. This is amazing. We're having a history revolution now. People are talking about history. That's why I was excited to speak to you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to share as well, because that's the other thing. As much as I said social media, you can't plan too far in advance, I was, especially for the first kind of few weeks, obviously we had a goal in mind, but it was a lot of experimenting, because, you know, we could post houses, we could pretend to be Rightmove and stuff, but at the end of the day, what do people want to see? And if they want a property, they will go on the internet and they will look for that property. But as much as what we're sharing on social media, it's, you know, how I don't want to drive people away in thinking, oh, it's just going to be sales jargon and things like that. Then don't get me wrong, we've got a message to get across, but it's how can we give the people of Shrewsbury something that they want to hear and that we want to share, that shows off us and our history and our, you know, the places we've been over the last 140 years. So sharing that was, again, an experiment. And then it just took off. I was so shocked at the response to just, we did like side-by-side comparisons. You got the drone out to really get the angle right, so it matched this old photo that I had that had come out of a drawer. And then the other thing was not just getting to show people the history, it was people commenting and saying, oh yeah, my grandfather worked there actually, and it was like this, that, the other, and actually before it was that, it was this, you know, and there's actually links to the monarchy. There were so many people coming out and sharing bits of history, and of course before I do one of these history posts, I'm doing so much research to try, like, really, like, you know, I mean, I like to think of it as this is everything we know all in one place kind of thing, and people can read as much of that as they like, but I like to put it all in one place, and then everything that I found from the internet, I've put that. So when people are adding more, it's like, you know, if you don't say this, does that die with you one day? And
that's why it's important that you're doing this, because everyone I've mentioned, you know, I keep mentioning these names because they're very important. Stan Sedman, Maggie Love, Bibbs Cameron, all these amazing people. I'm sorry, guys, but they're of the golden generation. You know what I mean? Like, and I was worried for a sec, because I was kind of like, I don't see any young people talking about or getting excited about history, and you might have sparked something in Shrewsbury, you know, with what you're doing, because whether it's what you want to do or not, maybe there are other people that are going to follow on. You know, you always see it with social media. Everybody kind of copies content, whatever. Yeah. I'd kind of welcome that with what you're doing. The more people talking about it, like you said, you're creating a database.
Yeah, I think it's a compliment, and that's the other thing. If everyone starts doing that as well, can always turn around and be like, oh, that's nice, everybody likes what I'm doing and everyone's joining in, and that's it. There are so many stories to tell in Shrewsbury that I just couldn't imagine being like, well, that's annoying, now I've got nothing to post because it's been done, because there's always more to tell, and the more people telling those stories and doing those research and talking to family and friends and stuff, like there are people that will have stories to tell that I won't be able to tell because I won't know them and I won't have those opportunities.
Yeah.
So, you know, if the more people getting involved, the more chances those stories will actually come out. Because, you know, one of my colleagues actually, Tom Thorne, he wrote a book and he went round and interviewed some of the people who'd fought in the World War. And he collects like little things he finds. He's found things down the back of skirting boards when renovating houses and things. When I started doing the history and things, one of my other colleagues told me that he'd done that, and I was like, oh gosh, that's amazing. And I went into his office and he showed me some things he'd found, and it was like invitations to like the Shropshire County show, like a marquee there from like the 1960s or something like that. And it's also important to kind of have that appreciation for the old things, because, you know, another person working on that house might have picked it up and been like, oh, a piece of paper, county show, what's that? And then thrown it away. And the county show's just had its like 150 year anniversary, so there's history there too. But it's recognising and saving that, and you know, I love it. Tom's desk next to it, some shelves, and it's just full of like little trinkets, old coins, bits he's found that people didn't want to keep either. So he's like, in my head, he's rescued them from being lost to time.
Well, Nigel, I keep mentioning these people, but it's just quite irrelevant. Nigel Baker did dig on the lawn of the castle a while ago. Everybody was talking about it. Oh my God, they're gonna find it. And he's like, I was like, what did you find? He was like, oh, we found some food scraps. And I was like, oh. He goes, no. It's like we found out what they were eating at that time. It's like that was rubbish to them. They threw away bones and things they didn't want anymore. It was in a pit in the ground, and they found out what their diet was back in the medieval when they were using that castle as a residence. I mean, that's incredible, isn't it? Like you say, you talk about trinkets and things that people don't want anymore, and that's really nice, I think. And I found with the Shrewsbury Biscuit doing this, you never run out of things to talk about. You list how many bits of history are attached to buildings and how many buildings there actually are just in Shrewsbury alone. You talk about you release one video a week, 52 weeks a year. You can be going for a couple of years. Do you know what I mean?
And some, yeah. I've also learned a lot doing it. As I said, I didn't invest the time. Didn't really have that interest so much before. I knew it was old and it was beautiful, and then it was just it something clicked in my head, and it was like, oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about, and it's also deep. The widening of Barker Street, I think it was in the 1940s off the top of my head. They just pushed all those buildings back, and where the car park is kind of opposite the Cooper Green Pooks office, down the side of Rowley's house and stuff, those were all houses, beautiful buildings like Rowley's house, and Rowley's house was the only one that survived that kind of demolition era, and which is absolutely tragic. But the fact that Rowley's house was saved is amazing. But had that one not been left, I would never have looked at that car park and wondered, old buildings. And at the time, they were considered slums, so they were knocked down.
I've seen pictures of them, and they, in black and white, they kind of do look like slums.
They're a bit dark and scary.
Yeah. I've seen those pictures, but you imagine them now. I wish they'd do more with Rowley's house. I really do. I think it's such a beautiful building, and Stan Sedman says it's one of the only buildings in the country to have 3 different types of actual architecture, because you've got the thatch, you've got the stone, and you've got the brick. So it's got 3 different types of architecture in one building. I mean, that's incredible.
No, I didn't know. But that's another building, Rowley's house. I walked past that all the time. I went to college in town. I worked in town. There's a point when I was actually 7 days a week in town. And I used to cycle past Rowley's house on my way to work every day, and almost past it on my way to college every day. And I didn't even notice it till I worked at Cooper Green Pooks and I was out of the drone, and I was like, what actually is that? And I just walked past it.
Yeah. There's this philosophy behind the podcast of it. That's where it started, was to tell the story of a name above a door. You walk past a business every day, you don't know what it is. Cooper Green Pooks, I've never made the introduction. Now I have. People listening to this, they know that they really do care about bringing young people in and making things nice. That's what this podcast is all about. Yeah, you're right. You've got to be able to ask those questions. When we talk about asking those questions, when it comes to your content, how much time are you spending with the research, and how are you making sure that you get it right and stuff, to make the videos?
With the research, oh gosh, sometimes it varies. If I feel like I'm not finding a lot, and I know AI is quite controversial, but I start with, my research always starts with Google, classic, and then it actually goes to Facebook, and you go into the memories of Shropshire, Shropshire Tales, Histories, Memories, things like that, all these Facebook groups, and I'll search whatever it is in there. I've got one in the content bank, and I think it's a Radbrook Hall that used to be a school and stuff, but I actually found a lot about that out from Facebook. It didn't pop up on Google. And then, I know I could be a bit controversial, but if I feel like I'm not finding a lot, I will put it into ChatGPT, and I will say,
no, this is all. It's not controversial, not at all.
This is what I found from this. Is there anything else I'm missing, or can you help me find more photos? Is there any more information that I could add to this project, just so that I feel like I've got everything to work with to pull into this.
I think AI, when it comes to things like this, I think that when you marry up something that can literally search the internet in the blink of an eye and come up with something that's concise and accurate, when you match that with history, you can't go wrong. I mean, as long as you're fact-checking what you've got, which you obviously are, I mean, it's a perfect way of going, right, so how do we talk about the old market hall? It was built in 1596. What was and it will literally come up with a paragraph for you. I mean, if you've never tried it before, don't be scared of AI, folks. If you've never tried it, it's free. Whether you're using Copilot or Gemini or ChatGPT, whichever one you're using, just start asking it questions.
Yeah, I think it's one of those bits of tech that I feel like lots of people are trying to reject. But I think whether we like it or not, it's going to be such a massive part of the future. And I think it's important to use it mindfully, be aware of the impact and stuff, and also do your research. But it is an incredible tool, and we would be silly not to use it.
I think I threw into ChatGPT a while ago. Make me look like something from Rick and Morty, and it designed me as Rick and Morty. Now that is ethically, I would say, quite bad, because it's, I'm not Dan Harmon or Justin Roiland. I don't own the rights to those art styles, but I just thought it was something fun. But I'm not making money off it. I just threw it up on social media. I think that's if I was going to take that and be like, this is my logo for my new business, then that'd be different. You owe them some money then. So yeah, you've got to ethically be correct. But when it comes to information, that's what it's for. That's literally what it's for.
Yes, and to I could spend another 20 minutes being like, I definitely double checked everything. How could I delve deeper? But to just put it in, it saves time. And I'm also if I've said this is what I found, sometimes I'm putting stuff in that I found on Facebook as well and saying, can you find a source for this? Because again, you've got to fact check everything you say before you put that on the internet, or then it becomes your fault for spreading misinformation.
So you do your research, and then when it comes to making the content, actually filming the content and stuff, how easy is that for you? Getting making sure you use phone camera, you got the microphones and stuff. How easy is that to organise for you?
So it is. I want to say a bit of an event, partly for the emotional preparation it takes to be right. Okay, I've got bullet points of what I want to talk about. I know what I'm talking about. I want to be ready to say what I'm saying. So get it recorded, get it done. Don't want to be stood there going, actually, what's that? Because it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So
or when you get back to the office and go, oh my God, I've got a group, guys, we're going back out again. Yeah.
But no, I do enjoy doing it, but it's also the element of it started with photos, the history posts for Cooper Green Pooks.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
Yeah, the side by side, and that was great. But then it was everything these days is about video. You'll know that it's all about the reels. It's all about that that content that holds the attention. So it was how can we turn this into a video? And then it was I could do a voiceover. And we could take some clips, and then it was the other thing is statistically, people post with a personal presence that actually have people in it have a higher click-through rate.
So you look at the analytics and you know that,
and it comes back to people buy from people as well. People bond with people. You want that natural connection.
Yeah.
And to put a face to it as well, to bring it all together. It's it's this again. I recognise this girl. It's this girl talking about the history again, rather than just kind of another thumbnail of Shrewsbury, which is great. But then you've got that consistency. But it was also, to be honest, getting over myself. Talking, everyone goes, I don't like hearing my own voice and.
Yeah. I'd say. I've spoken to thousands of people on stage. I'll speak to anybody. I've interviewed politicians, rock stars, movie stars. I've done all sorts. I nearly said it then. I interviewed some. I'll tell you afterwards. I mention it in every podcast, and I'm making an effort not to say it, but I've interviewed lots of people. But when it comes to doing the whole walking and talking with a camera, or Facebook Live, that kind of thing. I don't. Yeah, it's not great.
You've got to be shameless about it. I was actually just walking up Pride Hill with the drone out, taking a nice clip of Shrewsbury, and some teenagers behind me went, "Oh, she's got a drone. Who does she think she is?" And I turned around and went, "I get paid for this."
That's the difference.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
But no, I think. Putting that message out there and telling those stories does make it so much more personal, having a person there to tell it. And being the social media person, I couldn't turn around to sales or lettings and be like, hey guys, do you want to talk about this house? Because that is my job, so it's just a bit I'm so used to recording the content and things like that. And then it was actually, I've got to go and tell it, and I've got to be in it. And it was just if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it like I mean it, and I'm going to say it like I mean it.
But then what that does is you create this alter ego. You are Freya the storyteller now, right? You're telling this history to people, and then your face becomes synonymous with that then, and then that becomes synonymous with Cooper Green Pooks. So that's how it works. You connect it all with these breadcrumbs, and if you're the person doing it and people recognize you for doing it and you're part of Cooper Green, do you know what I mean? It kind of ties it all together. So this is what I was talking about, an estate agent's not just talking about houses all the time. It's offering something nice to people, and that came from there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's coming quite nice about it.
And yeah, making sure to tie it back to Cooper Green Pooks, because it's amazing to have that kind of creative freedom to just go out and record these videos and tell these stories and bring that all together. I did have my first last week. I was in Dill, the new restaurant on the Cop.
Oh yeah, big shout out to. I'm going to go say hello to them on my way back, by the way.
Oh, worth it. Such lovely people. And gosh, this is the weather to go and sit in that garden. But yeah, I was in there because that's a tenant of ours. Just helping set up, doing them a bit of promo, and then this woman in the corner was just looking at me funny. And I was stood waiting for food to come out of the kitchen so I could take some photos of the food. And she goes, "I think I saw you on Facebook." And on my way back to the office, I texted my mum. I was like, "I've just had I think I saw you on
I've
Facebook."
made it.
Yeah. It's like I'm Shrewsbury Facebook famous now.
Yeah, it's quite daunting. I remember being at the county show a couple of weeks ago, and I was interviewing, and as I'm interviewing, the guy goes, "Yes, I know who you are. You've got quite the following over you." And I was like, "Yeah." It's I love conversation. Conversation for me is one of the most amazing things. So I did radio for a bit, and when I was doing my radio, I was kind of like, "Oh my god, I need some." And I noticed that the BBC released this massive audio file for free because it was all that old. There was no copyright on it anymore. So it's like recordings from the 1930s onwards. And it was all just like things like cars starting and conversations in coffee shops and people shouting, all kinds of sounds, right? And I was kind of like, I would sit whilst I was making jingles for the radio, including these things. I'd be like, these people are probably dead that are talking now. It sounds morbid, but conversation is society. It is what holds us together. You know?
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that actually. And that car that you heard definitely doesn't run anymore.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, if it's an MG Rover, it died a long time ago. Do you know what I mean? So where do you think you're going to go with this? You now, I guess you're holding content. Have you got loads of content to come out? Is it snowballing for you a little bit, maybe?
It's still. Well, I've got lots planned. Sometimes it takes. I say I've got lots planned. There's a lot of vague ideas, but with property, sometimes you've got to wait for an opportunity. So I did Rabbit Call, and that was one because we had a vacant flat there. So it's like, well, I can go in, I can show around, I can show off the balcony, the area, and things. So I literally have in my calendar, as soon as someone gives a notice, I get an email alert about it, and then I put it in my calendar. It's like, property tour opportunity. That's what I always put in my calendar. So then I know that something could be coming up that would be worth talking about. So by the old market hall, there's the old Theatre Royale, the big white building.
Yes.
That is a beautiful building. I've just started compiling some information about that because I think that's going to be a really interesting one to talk about, and we've just had notice given in on a property there. So when that is vacant, no, not till next month when there's one of these flats becomes vacant, I'm going to go there.
You'll be like,
that's next on my list. So I'm trying to get everything ready well in advance so that I can just go in, talk about it, tell the story, get the drone out, get some great photos of the front. I love the drone. It's so good for that kind of showing off.
I've always wanted a drone, and I used to think I'm an audio only podcast. What do I want a drone for? I'm like, because I need a toy to play with. I mean, like, who doesn't want to play with a drone? I recorded a TV ad with Greenhouse with a brand new Qashqai up in Cardamil Valley. It was like so we had this idea. It didn't really pan out because my idea was to do like an almost like James Corden style interview podcast thing in brand new cars, right? And then so I was borrowing brand new cars for him, setting up a camera with my microphones, and we stand in front of the car and then we talk about it, right? And they were like, "Oh, would you want to be in a TV ad?" And I was like, "What?" So yeah, I mean, with the brand new Qashqai, and the guy was like making me drive towards his drone, and he was like, drive and then turn around and then come back and then drive, and he's playing with this drone. I was like, I just want to play with the drone. I don't care about the Qashqai.
Oh, no, the drone's such a great bit of kit. I've never used one before. I worked at Cooper Green Pooks, and it's like, I've got to go out, I've got to take a photo, and we use it for property photography as well, of course. That's a nice different angle to offer. But yeah, using it for the content and stuff as well, and like being able to. I feel like a lot of Shrewsbury, I felt a bit repetitive at one point, showing off the same angles, what you're seeing, what you and I see every day. But there is so much of Shrewsbury. So being able to send the drone up, like so far up, like well above, and show that kind of over the tops of the building, so you can see like multiple of the old churches. And like just taking the whole of Shrewsbury, putting it in one frame, and just being like, wow, like I could share that. Like this is something I want to share with the people.
Yeah, we're like, sell this. Yeah. I remember when Beth Heath put the Ferris wheel in the middle of town here. They were doing the Shrewsbury moves. I don't like rides. Like, I think they're rickety old things that could break at any moment. So, like, we're going up on this Ferris wheel. But, the podcast hasn't got many listens, and it's probably because it looks really boring. But if you get a chance, go back and listen to it, because I'm on this Ferris wheel. I'm holding onto the bar. I've got my lad next to me, and I hit record on my microphone. But my thumb can't reach the stop button, and I'm not letting go in this bar. So we're going round on this Ferris wheel, and I'm talking the whole time. It's that bit of audio is so weird, because I'm like, oh my God, it's okay, it's fine. I'm talking myself around to it. But like just being over the rooftops there, I know you talk about drones going up and stuff, but I was just kind of like, oh my God, look, there's a thing over there. Like, this town's fascinating. It really is.
Well, every time I walk through, especially now that I actively make the effort to look up, I walk past it and it's like, oh my gosh, what a beautiful building. Look at the windows up there.
Yeah.
And I see so much more of it. And every time I see something new, I'm like, I've got too many ideas in the bank, can't do everything,
I'm usually looking through empty buildings' windows going, Biscuit Studios. There's Biscuit Studios there. Biscuit Studios over there too. Biscuit Studios over here. Because that's all I ever wanted was a studio in town.
Studio shopping.
Yeah. That's what I'm just like, my podcast table over there, the green room over there that'd be cool. I remember last year I was working with the rough sleeper team. I can talk about it now. I've done it. And we used to walk around looking for rough sleepers, find out if they need help, give them drinks, give them coffee and stuff. And my colleague, I won't mention his name, but I'd walk around and be like, do you know when that building was made? And do you know what this building is? The Golden Cross, did you know there was a tunnel underneath that where he's going to have a little bit of a tipple off the church? You know? And he'd be like, will you just shut up about history? Sometimes you just can't walk around Shrewsbury without talking about it,
Not everybody gets it. Everybody gets it.
No, they don't.
But no, I quite like it, actually. I'm a biker, and we end up riding like back through town a lot. All the bikers, and we've got comm systems, so we all talk to each other, and we'll ride along. And I'll be like, oh, I did a tour on that building, so there's photos in that building, and it's like, well, I scanned that one, and now that I've seen like the insides as well of so many properties of Shrewsbury, I go around and I'm like, yeah, me and that building, we got history.
We go way back.
Just, actually, I know more than you.
So this podcast's been nominated for a UK Independent Podcast Awards. It's been nominated, and so they were like, "Tell us a bit about the podcast." I'm being very modest about it, because these things that I get nominated and kind of like, oh yeah, and then gone in the wind until you get short. But they were like, "Tell me about the podcast." And I was like, "Well, we kind of do everything. We do." We go to festivals, and we do this thing. We go to restaurants, and I interviewed on top of a 900-year-old abbey, and they were like, "What?" A 900? Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh yeah, that's casual though."
Yeah, just casual 900-year-old abbey still on the roof. That's like Assassin's Creed trying to get up there. By the way, don't go up there without permission. By the way, if you're going to go up there, ask them first. Don't be climbing up. But yeah, it's that was an amazing experience. They're like, "Yeah, this roof is like 800 and so many years old." I'm like, "Is it?"
Hope it's reinforced. Yeah.
And speaking of the Abbey, obviously I mentioned Thomas Telford. We have these amazing heroes in town, and Thomas Telford gets talked about a lot. And I was just talking about Roberto here. Like Nigel Baker has this opinion. Well, it's not an opinion. I think a lot of historians in Shrewsbury have the same opinion. That Thomas Telford was a bit of a crook, actually. He kind of did some mad stuff in Shrewsbury. Like the Abbey spread right across what is like Asda car park, and as far as the traffic gyratory system, it went down that far. That's how big it was. It was almost like a little mini village. It was massive. And Thomas Telford was like, "I'm going to put a road right through the middle of it." So that's what he did. And
I feel like all the famous like history people have, it's like, oh yeah, we'll focus on this, and then like you delve a bit deeper, and it's like, maybe you shouldn't have.
Preposterous. You did what now? So yeah, Thomas Telford, great guy, but with some bad visions. Obviously, we're coming upon an age now where lots of new ideas are coming to Shrewsbury, lots of history, lots of tradition. What are your thoughts on, like, we just talked about the Riverside and things like that, freshening things up in Shrewsbury? Are you for it? Are you against it? What do you think about that? New buildings mixed with the old buildings, that kind of thing.
I'm for it. I think it needs to be addressed carefully, mindfully.
Yeah.
But I think you can't reject modernisation, or you will just get left behind.
Perfect.
So yeah, I think it's very much necessary. I like the idea of the vision. Like I've looked all into like what the bid's doing, like what the shopping centre used to be in their plans and things. Of course, working in property, like I've got to be aware of those things going on.
Sure.
But I have no objections to it. But I like the kind of plans for it to be a greener space. But I do feel like I feel like the goal is for a greener Shrewsbury, and it's very and pedestrianised as well. I know that's kind of part of what they're doing, but I do think it's also important to be mindful of the people that not just visit and walk, but live and commute here.
That makes a lot of sense, and we've got to have hindsight. Do you know what I mean? The population's growing. How are we going to get the Shrewsbury Moves thing? I think it can be anything but exciting.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about moving people en masse around the town as easy as possible. And I get it, right? I was sat in traffic, by Pigeon Bridge, we always call it as a family, Pigeon Bridge, and by the train station. I was sat in traffic down there just like everyone else. But once it's done and all the infrastructure is properly in place, I'm pretty sure it's going to run as smoothly as it did before, if not a little bit better. Do you know what I mean?
I'm very open-minded to it. I know, of course, the traffic at the moment by the train station is not optimal, but there's still things going on. It's still ongoing. I like to trust that the people who are paid to make these plans and do these things at least have a good idea of what they're doing, and research would have been done. I'm quite glad that's not my job, to be honest. But no, I think we have to be open-minded to that. As soon as I also feel like as soon as someone presents a plan in Shrewsbury, everyone goes, oh yeah, well that's never going to work, and I feel like everyone just instantly rejects these things. And I think we have to be a little bit more open-minded to the fact that, as wonderful as it's lovely to think of Shrewsbury as like this sleepy old town, it has changed, it has grown, and I don't think that's a bad thing, but we have to work with it and not just fight anything.
Oh, do you know what? You're a breath of fresh air, honestly. The stuff you're saying is brilliant. I love it. I mean, look at this town square. I mean, you're looking at old photos. This has been a road. This has been like part, like there's been like, and look at opposite where you are, Cooper Green Pooks. That was a bus station. We were talking about houses before. There was a big, massive car park over by where Spoons is now. Do you know what I mean? There's like loads of changes that have happened, whether they're for the good or for the better in this town. And we can talk about infrastructure as much as you like, but like we're here now. We've got to adjust with the time.
I saw photos, very old photos from when you could actually drive down the middle of Pride Hill, and I was like, oh gosh, I didn't even know that was a thing. But no, I think it's very, very important to just kind of be open-minded. That I think that's all we can ask. That's all we can expect of people, because Shrewsbury is so wonderful, but you can't complain about the things that are going wrong and then reject everything that's new and like people's attempts to kind of resolve some of the ongoing things. And everything could be, should be, maybe would be better, etc., etc. But like, we do live in such a beautiful town, and there is so much to be grateful for. And like as a whole, I think between everything going on, I think as a town we're doing very well. And some things aren't going to work, some things are going to work. But if we don't try these things, be open-minded to this change, then we're going to be complaining about the whole same things over and over again until we die.
And I feel like we need to talk about, like you said, we've got to talk about these things. And I know this is Telford and not Shrewsbury, but like you would talk about Telford Town Centre, it's this big, we see it as this big concrete, massive shops and commerce and what have you. But people don't realise that was actually the founding place of Telford. There's an old building in Telford Town Park that's been restored and kept lovely, and that was one of the original buildings from the original epicentre of Telford. Nobody talks about stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? No one's in Telford making a documentary about that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We talk about this place. I was talking a bit earlier about how Bear Steps was the original town square, and then it moved over here. They created this market hall in 1596, as he looks at his notes, and then they made the older market hall, which is now gone, and now we've got what is now the market. You know what I mean? There's this visual evolution of commerce in Shrewsbury.
I didn't even know that the original square was by Bear Steps until you said just now.
Yeah.
So again, these conversations have to happen to like.
Well, because they had Butcher Road and Milk Street, and that's where all those things.
Yeah,
all
that makes
together.
so much sense now. Yeah, no, if you don't keep having these conversations and talking about history, how does it happen? How do you learn everything? You need a Shrewsbury history book.
Yeah.
But no, the old market hall as well was one that I didn't know was ever demolished and rebuilt until I worked at Cooper Green Pooks and I saw the photos. But then I was posting about stuff like that on Facebook and Barker Street and the changes there, and people were commenting, going, "Oh yeah, well I remember it. Like when I was a little girl, my mum used to take me, and it's like, oh my gosh, you remember it." And do you mean that there are still people who have things to contribute to these stories, but we've got to start that conversation.
Honestly, this has been so illuminating. It's also a relief to know that you know, a young person like yourself is excited about. I mean, I know this is your job and this is what you're paid to do. But
it is fueled by passion as well. That I genuinely like. I really enjoy that this is my job, that I get to talk about these things and tell these things. It really is a joy.
Have you been... I'm sorry to alienate you because you're younger than me, but have you been speaking to a lot of people your age about this? And have people been having like reciprocal conversations about history with you?
Yeah, actually, it's got my friends talking for sure.
Yeah.
Mostly because if people in the office are busy, I've got some friends who are like kind of open-minded to the idea, like going into marketing stuff, and I've roped them in, been like, great, well, I could do with recording this before a new tenant moves in. Are you free Thursday to come and do some, free work with me? But they love it for like, kind of the experience, and then afterwards I'd be like, you get some weird places with your job.
Do you want to be a part of this amazing thing?
So I really sell it to them, and then we go back into town and be like, thanks for your time. Do you want a coffee?
Do you want to be immortalised on the internet? I love that. I mean, we got listeners in America. We got listeners in New Hampshire and Vermont, California, and Florida. We got listeners from all around the world that are genuinely interested in British culture, in what we've got here. The fact that we're sat in a building from 1596 with a beam. Roberto, when we say this, there's a beam across across the building here, that is from a tree from 1,000 years ago. You know what I mean? That's incredible.
That's amazing.
Imagine what was back then, here in Shropshire or wherever that tree came from.
Yeah, I was going to say, and where was it cut from?
Exactly. So we talk about how things change. That tree, that there has been there for 1,000 years on this planet. That is history, and that's what's in this town. Tell us what people can expect from your sort of content, what they're going to be seeing recently, or even how to find it as well. That's a good idea.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Everything goes on Cooper Green Pooks' Facebook and Instagram, and yeah, I just, as I said before, you can't plan too far ahead with socials. But yeah, no, so I've got a few things in the bank regarding some history posts, and yeah, that's a sneak peek for you. Hoping to do the theatre.
So I know you did the Welsh Bridge, didn't you? Did you do
yes,
Welsh?
That was like a nice practice for me. Basically, it was like I'll do this one, and I'll just do this one, and I'll see what the response was, and it was like the best thing I'd ever posted. So I was like, oh, okay.
Because we were talking about this like a month before you did that. You were kind of like, we're doing this thing, and we're going to start making these things. And I was kind of like, ooh, that's really good for the podcast. And then when I saw it, I was like, that's really good. That's really good. Like, I wasn't expect. I don't mean to sound rude. I didn't expect it to look that polished and that good.
Thank you.
I don't mean that in a nasty way.
I get that a lot. Because I do interviews with the local businesses as well, and like showcasing some of the people in Shrewsbury. Thank you, I try. And I find each time I go back, because I record it with, I use a professional microphone, I use DJI microphones. Love DJI. I'm the biggest
I need to start looking into their microphones. I'm a big fan of Zoom and sure. Let's not get into that.
But yeah, and then I just record it on my Google Pixel. Because it's go on social media. Like they're designed to be.
Using a phone. Do you want it in 4K? Then I'm using my phone.
But yeah, and then I go back and I always show the businesses before it goes up, and they're like, "Oh wow, like that's way better than I thought it'd be." And I'm always like, "Thanks." Hang on a minute. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think you're doing a fantastic job. I think anybody listening to this will be encouraged by what they're listening to, because I feel like we could have a resurgence of this history talk in Shrewsbury. And also as well, I think anything positive in this world right now is good. There's lots going on at the moment. It's nice to be able to dissipate. I don't have a dog or a cat, but I find myself looking at a lot of dog and cat videos because I feel like we need that little bit of a dopamine kind of, dose in like lukewarm water. Like we talk about the lake.
And it's no deeper than watching a nice video of a dog or a cat. It's no commitment. It's just a nice, funny video.
I didn't know that. Maybe we can do one about here. Alex told me that this beam is 1,000 years old, and there's the clock workings there. There's just. I was being told about the glass in this. You can tell the old glass because it sort of shimmies as you look through the light. Because apparently glass is just a solid. It's like a liquid. It's a very hard liquid. So over hundreds of years, the glass has dripped down, and you can see that how the light changes when you move. And they're the old panes of glass, as opposed to the really straight.
You've done your research first, then.
Just chatting to Roberto before I came in. He was kind of like, "Did you?" Honestly, I need to.
Again, you've got to start those conversations, so that's perfect. That's amazing.
It really is. Well, we've been chatting for an hour. This has been. I haven't even.
Already.
I know. Well, I don't feel like we've even started. I feel like we could do another hour. So, in fact, we're going to do. I'm joking. Freya, thank you so much for chatting to me.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been really nice to get to share this and talk about it, because obviously it's important to me, and it's nice to do it from a work perspective, but also getting to hear that the people are enjoying the content and appreciating it, and to feel like I'm contributing something to Shrewsbury.
I don't think you realise what you're doing. I really don't, because I think it could be of significant importance. Genuinely, because people aren't talking about these things. I think there's you and a few people of your sort of age group that are starting to really dig their heels into history, and they weren't doing that before. So, when the golden generation of tour guides in Shrewsbury goes, who did he pass the mantle on to? Where are the young tour guides around Shrewsbury doing their job? Do you know what I mean?
Well, there you go. Maybe if property and marketing doesn't work out for me, I'll become a tour guide.
A bit on the weekend to make a bit of money. I love that. Thank you for chatting to me today. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers. What a great episode. Like I said at the beginning, one of the best episodes I've recorded in a while. It's just, I think you can tell when I'm enjoying an interview because I just chat away. There's no real care and consideration of what I'm chatting about. I'm just enjoying the conversation, and that's what this was. That's what the biscuit is supposed to be. So thank you, Freya. Thank you to the guys from Old Market Hall. Thank you, Cooper Green Pooks, for letting me borrow Freya for a bit as well. And keep up the great work. Honestly, it's really cool. Right, the next episode you guys are going to hear from the Shrewsbury Biscuit is going to be our coverage of the UK proms in the park at Attingham Park. Really interesting episode. We did it in two halves. The first half I did on the first evening at Attingham Park. Me and Timmy did that together. And then the second evening I was at work. So I handed the podcast to Timmy to do the interviews, and he did a fantastic job. He interviewed Rob Rinder from the TV, which was really, really cool. So you got that to look forward to coming up soon. And this weekend coming up as I'm recording this, but after this episode has been released, is Shrewsbury Food Festival. This is going to be released on a while afterwards. So you'd have already been and you'd have already bought your tickets and enjoyed the event. But I got to tell you, I'm really looking forward to recording and releasing and sharing the content with you. It's one of my favourite events. It really is. I had a mishap with Oktoberfest last year. I turned up to an event with dodgy batteries that didn't work, so I didn't have a microphone. So I couldn't do that. So I want to make up for Shrewsbury Food Festival. So I'm hoping to have a wonderful couple of days. I've got the whole festival off. So I plan to record lots and lots of cool content. Hoping to have a guest co-host with me for the Sunday. And also, so I want to congratulate Shropshire Festivals for taking time out, or adding time on, should I say, to the festival for the charity concert that they put together for Crystal Owen and for the obviously the tragedy that happened with Harvey and his three friends in the car crash in North Wales in 2023. Very, very sad incident, but they're trying to do something positive with the Shine On Harvey Owen, which is a charity they're developing that was, is aiming to support pathways for young people and to enjoy arts, music, and food. And that's what this charity concert is. I don't need to go through the terms and conditions and the prices and the things that, because you've already done it as as we're releasing this. But what I would encourage you to do is give the charity a Google and donate if you weren't there, if you weren't able to. Like I said on the SYST episode, Anything that goes towards helping young people and developing, confidence, or the love of music or arts, anything like that, I absolutely think is well worth a few quid, because we're looking after the next generation. So that's the next episode you've got to look forward to. I want to say thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time listening to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast, please follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Threads too. And also, you can learn everything you need to know about the Shrewsbury Biscuit at our website, which is the shrewsburybiscuitpodcast.co.uk. And that is lovingly made for us by our friends at Web Orchard. If you need a website for anything that you do, you can trust that they'll make the perfect website just for you. And if you do go to Web Orchard just from listening to this or any of the other podcasts, just tell them that the Shrewsbury Biscuit sent you. Then they can buy me a pint in the pub afterwards. Just to say thank you. But no, seriously, thank you for tuning in. I will catch you next time at our coverage of UK Problems in the Park. Take it easy, guys. Peace out.